Hold on.
Oh shit! I hit record already. Sorry.
Well, I mean, it looks like I'm in Close Encounters right now. It looks like something's coming through the fucking door.
Yeah, it's like blind or poltergeist. Well, the door
Yeah.
and your glasses. Oh,
What
it's
about
reflecting.
this?
That's better. Way better.
That's better. All right.
Yeah.
I'm like fucking in the fucking corner of my shitty fucking apartment. I can't wait to leave this place. This is the last episode we're doing in my fucking shithole. By
Tomorrow. Well, I'm at my friend's house, but he's like renting temporarily, so it's just barren back here. It looks like I'm in a holding.
It looks like you're in my. That's the first time I have more shit in my background than you do.
Yeah, it's strange, but it's a temporary stay here.
You know how you're like. You know how like you're gonna leave somewhere and there's like the perfect thing that makes you realize you made the right decision to leave. I don't know. In my apartment the other day, like I was walking back home and there was just a dead, drowned rat, like outside the steps, and no one's of course picking it up because everyone's squatting there, so they're not gonna do fucking maintenance. And then a couple days later, I walked and I saw the dead rat had moved to the other side, but then I looked and realized, oh no, it was just another dead rat. So there's just two. And I was like, I really can't wait to leave this place.
I think 2 dead rats, though, is better than somebody kicked the rat across the way or picked it up and decided.
You think so?
It.
I feel like 2 dead rats is like, I feel like you hope that's just one. You know what I mean? I feel like with dead rats, the more there are, the worse it is for everyone.
Yeah, I think ultimately you're correct. But I was just trying to look on the bright side. But no, it's going to be awesome. We have the best landlord. He's always over there painting, planting flowers. You got Steve and Caitlin, Sarah and me. I mean, it's just perfect.
Flowers.
And then the other lady that lives there is like beautiful. And I think single, by the way.
She hot?
Very.
Are you really? But that's his daughter, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to fuck shit up. It's kind of shitting where you eat, right? If you fuck the landlord's daughter, you got to marry her.
The thing is, she would never have sex with you. So that's important to remember. But
the moral conundrum will not,
I
will not have to face that moral issue.
Yeah, it's someone to bump into. I can't swim, so I never have to face it. That was a reference to Manhattan, which you probably think stinks.
Well, you know how I think. We've talked about it.
We did.
You don't have to guess my opinions on certain movies.
Manhattan. We talked about Manhattan. I thought you liked
we did
Manhattan.
a whole episode on it.
We did on Manhattan? I thought we talked about Hannah and her sisters.
We did both, didn't we?
I don't know
or was
anymore.
it Annie Hall? Yeah, I don't either. But yeah, well, I'm excited to have someone hot in the building. And I mean, Caitlin's a very beautiful woman, but I'm excited. And Sarah, your wife, I just feel I'm just digging myself into a hole. Would you rather I think your wife's hot or not?
No, I think not. I think you just kind of skip that.
You just skip it. You don't have to.
Yeah, it's not even a thing. You don't address it at all. That's not what you do. Is there a MasterCard over your head on your refrigerator? It looks like a MasterCard on your refrigerator. It's got that green. Oh, not MasterCard. American. What's the green one? American Express.
I thought American Express. Yeah. Well, this is a. It is. I have no fucking idea what it is. It's. It's the Wi-Fi password.
Yeah.
Well,
this episode sucks so far.
It's the worst. This is like the worst episode. It feels like an episode where we have nothing to talk about, even though we have 2 movies.
We got a ton to talk about. And I wish we were talking about 3 movies because I've watched Who Framed Roger Rabbit twice in the last 2 days. And that movie is a masterpiece.
I do like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's an important movie from my childhood. And I will say Bob Hoskins. I mean, that performance is, the level, nothing shows you're a great actor more than having to say one of the dumbest lines of all time, a tune dropped a piano on my brother's head, and then say it with this like tragic quality. Like, how good of an actor do you have to be to not make that sound ridiculous?
No, that's a beautiful line. I thought you were going to say like when he raps at the end or does this little rhyme thing.
But I'm saying you're saying a cartoon dropped a piano on my brother's head. Try to say that seriously.
But that's very poignant. I can do it.
Try to say it poignantly.
You know I'm a great actor.
Just say it. I'm just saying it's a hard thing to get,
A tune dropped a piano on my brother's head.
Just once you say tune, you understand what I'm saying? Once you say the word
take, let me get a good take.
All right. I'll give you another take.
A tune. He dropped a piano on my brother's head. I think that's pretty good.
But that's the problem. It's like you are good, but the more serious it is, the funnier it is. You know what I mean? Like Bob Hoskins is like one of the few people who can do it where it's like, you're not realizing how ridiculous the line is. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
I just want to say, I know we're not discussing Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but I know you're going to shit on Robert Zemeckis and you hate Forrest Gump and you're going to trash these other movies probably. But Back to the Future is amazing and flawless. And Who Framed Roger Rabbit is like an underrated. Back to the Future is not flawless.
Flawless? I mean, whatever. Let's not get into it.
I mean, there's like time travel flaws. There's time travel flaws, and that there's not an infinite amount of Martys. But
I don't think anything's flawless. But anyway, let's talk. We don't even. Let's pick our battles today.
All right, I'm just saying, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is fucking great. It's perfect.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit's great. It's a great movie. It's very fun. Chinatown, right? The plot.
Yeah. Yes, I'm familiar with. Wait, is Toontown and Chinatown similar? There's also references to Jaws in there too.
What's the Jaws reference?
Oh, Jessica Rabbit walks up to him and slaps him. It's very Jaws to me.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that is a Jaws. Yeah, that is a Jaws.
Also, man, Donald Duck calls Daffy Duck the N-word. You know about that?
What? Wait, what?
Go watch the piano scene.
What?
It sounds exactly like he says stupid effing N-word. It's wild. Go put it on as soon as we're done.
Daffy Duck says that to Donald?
No, Donald says it to Daffy. It makes more sense that way.
Does it? Well, wait, because Daffy's black?
Yeah.
Oh, I forget which one is. I have trouble. Which one is? I forget which one is which.
Donald Duck is Disney.
Oh, right.
Daffy's funny. He's Looney Tunes.
Daffy's funny. Yeah, well, he's the black guy, so he'd be the funny one, right?
Well, some white guys are funny, but yeah.
Not compared to black people.
Black people are funnier for sure. But if you listen, go watch the dueling piano scene. He says, it did the impression very well. It just doesn't go clear.
That's like that's like the Disney, like the Little Mermaid. There's like a tit in the clouds or whatever. That's like
it's a dick.
But the N-word. It's a dick.
That's the Little Mermaid.
I was jacking off to it. I thought it was a tit. Fuck. Fuck. This is so embarrassing.
The Little Mermaid one is in the palace. It's a big penis. And then in Aladdin, he says all good teenagers take off their clothes. And in Lion King, he flops down and it spells out sex in like dust.
Wait, what is the all good teenagers? Like he says
that's
that
Aladdin. He says all good teenagers take off their clothes.
Really? He just says that? Fuck.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Isn't that kind of like a crime to tell like underage people to take off their clothes in like a coded message?
Why would that be a crime?
I mean, it's an adult who wrote that secretly. Well, yeah, you're saying it is a crime.
I mean, I don't know. I'm saying it, whatever. But we should get into these films. Right, but anyways, Who Framed Roger Rabbit rules. Also, use cars, kicks ass. Zemeckis.
He's good. He's a poor man Spielberg. I mean, I think we all can agree with that. But he has good qualities. I really like one of these movies a lot, and I always have. And one of them, can you guess which one?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well,
Flight is better. You're gonna hate Castaway, but I love a lot about Castaway.
Well, let's talk about Castaway first. Shall we?
Okay, great. I didn't take any notes, but I watched it a couple times.
I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters, and it was interesting to watch again because it's that thing where, like, you know how you watch a movie a long time ago and just like four things stick with you, and those are clearly like the iconic things in the movie, the things that are most memorable, like the things that really stuck with me. I still remember to this day. The amazing thing at the end was the crabs and the lighter, which is just like such a beautiful image.
The crabs and the
buffet, when he goes to the buffet and you see all the crabs.
Oh.
And just how easy that thing is in which you knew he had to cook the crabs, you know?
Right.
That part, the whale, you know, it's something I would remember. I did not remember the ending because it's fucking atrocious. I guess
the ending is terribly bad. But the whale, I'm surprised you like the whale because it looks so CGI.
I don't think it looks at CGI.
What? It like disappears into the water. Like it doesn't go into the water. It just like it does like Field of Dreams style, which I know you like that movie.
I don't know. I mean, I guess a whale feels kind of CGI in general when you see a whale. I've seen some humpbacks up close, and I don't know. I thought it was pretty accurate. I mean,
I have seen a lot of whales as a New Englander, of course, but I don't know what whales you're seeing in Kentucky. But
well, no, I went. I did the whale cruise in Boston or Nantucket or one of them. I saw like 12 humpback whales.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. They don't look CGI, but sure.
But I love the whale. I mean, there's a lot I love about this movie and a lot I do not like about this movie. The one thing I totally forgot is I didn't realize Helen Hunt had such a big forehead.
I'm attracted to her big time.
Really?
Oh,
I'm watching
my God.
I don't know if like big foreheads were in back then, but her forehead was like I mean, it looks like yours, honestly. It's like a, I mean, maybe you're attracted to yourself. I don't know. But like,
at least my forehead's like rectangular. Yours is like a rhombus. It's like wider at the base. It's like, is that a rhombus? What is that thing?
I don't know. Yeah. I've never been roasted with geometry before.
The geometry of innocence fleshed on a bone causes Galileo's math book to get thrown.
Tombstone Blues.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, she is not as hot as I remember her, but she's still. I can't make fun of you because it sticks in your head for forever.
In my giant head.
In your giant forehead. More like a 5 head. Have you ever heard that before?
I heard it in school.
I know. I'm joking. I thought you'd be insulted that I mean, that's like one of your lines from your Tonight Show.
Did I tell you about that? When I did that, I got a bunch of people, like 10 people that were like, that joke's old. You hack. I couldn't believe it. It's like astounding. Like 5 head. I heard that in 5th grade. I'm like, what? It's amazing how moronic people are, that they're like, that they thought I was like doing that as a bit. Hey guys, check out this thing I came up with.
Well, I mean, you're talking to me. Every time I post something on TikTok, someone literally goes, "Are you serious?" And it's like me telling a joke into a microphone to an audience. So, I have no expectations for how dumb people are. That is, I don't want to suck your dick, but that is, I always said that's one of the best Tonight shows ever.
Oh, I apprate that.
If you haven't watched it, really great.
I would love it if you sucked my dick. But let's get back to Castaway.
Helen Hunt, not as hot as I remember, but the best, I mean, the crash scene is pretty amazing.
Amazing. It's the best crash scene ever until Flight.
Yeah, because Flight's even better. Well, what's so incredible about it is this idea where he's like in the bathroom. It's kind of like a perfect metaphor for like life and absurdity. He's like looking at his cut on his finger.
Yes. So many metaphors, yes.
Did he get cut in the movie? Like, I don't really remember him getting cut.
No, but I assume it's a paper cut because he's doing all the box.
Right. So So he looks at the paper cut. It's just a little cut. And he's just worrying about it. And then in literally a split second, he's holding onto the bathroom wall or whatever the shit. And that to me, that's like life. You're worried about this very small problem. And then just something gigantic fucking overwhelms you. You're like, ooh, my mortgage is too blah, blah. And then the pandemic happens. It's just like, it's such a perfect image right then.
Yeah. And there's 2 great things similarly, and that he never goes back to the thumb again, of course. I mean, that's the great thing. That was his problem. He's dealing with his thumb. And it's not like he's on the island at some point, like, oh yeah, and this thing. But he does go back to the root canal, which is another great thing, is that wherever you go, there you are. Yeah. But like he's dealing with this root canal and it doesn't just go away. Because sometimes you think, if you have like a pain or a thing that's bothering you, a chronic issue, that like, well, I'm on vacation, so that'll just feel fine, right? Because I'm in Paris, right. And I love that it comes back that he still has this root canal situation, and of course that thing of like, you don't want to go to the dentist, you hate the dentist, the root canal is awful, and then you're on a stranded island. You're like, I would give $1 million to be at a dentist right now, right? And there's similar sort of metaphorical thing.
For sure. That's a great point. It's also like he kept on putting it off because he had like, all these things to do. And now he literally, that's the only thing he has to get done. Literally has no other appointments. Literally all he has to do is get the tooth out. And then he has 4 years to fucking throw spears into fish or whatever. But like, that's, there's a lot of pain in this movie, physical pain. That's kind of hard to watch at times. The coral reef.
Right. Well, that's what's so great about this movie is the time on the island, which is the best parts of the movie.
Yes,
100%. It's split into 2 parts, which I always love when a movie does that. And anyway, I love Jaws for being like that. I love Full Metal Jacket for being like that. I love the movie I just made for being like that. I like that the first half of him on the island is physical survival. He has to figure out how to physically survive. And he's got to figure out where he can get food, how he can get a fire, how he can get water. And then he survives that. And we cut ahead 4 years. And now all of his problems are mentally. Now he has to emotionally survive. And it is also metaphorical to life, as you do at the beginning of life have this thing of physical. Of course, it goes back to physical towards the end.
Yeah, when you're a baby, it's all physical. Yeah, and, shelter and.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're 39 and your career is kind of flattened and you're,
Wait, are you talking about me? Because I'm 37.
I was talking about me, but well, we can make it about you if you want to make it about you.
I thought you were doing so well. You must be talking about me. That's what I thought. That was a compliment that I assumed was about me.
No, but I do love that part of the movie where now he's got it figured out physically. Physically, he can sustain here. It's just a matter of and he's a broken man when we get to him 4 years ahead. He's killing the fish with ease, but then he's just sitting there broken and obviously trying to figure out how to kill himself.
He looks hot, but he's fucking miserable. And his acting is so incredible. I mean, much like having to say the line, a tune dropped a piano on my head and make it seem tragic. I think one of the hardest things Tom Hanks, one of the great acting challenges, is to talk to a volleyball and not make the audience laugh the whole time, and also make the audience feel really sad when he loses to volleyball. That is a fucking hard acting challenge, maybe one of the hardest. And to do it in a way too, where it's like, it's such a complicated thing to perform, because he has to perform in a way where he's talking to the volleyball, but also on some level very much aware that it's just a volleyball. He has to do both at the same time. And that's such a hard thing to do. But
well, I know how hard it is because I'm talking to a volleyball right now.
Is this my head joke again?
Yeah, that's right.
That's good.
But it's a clever, there's two clever filmmaking tricks in these movies, and one I did not figure out on my own, and one I did. But in Castaway, you have Wilson there because so there can be dialogue. So that way you can give you thing. So that's like a clever way to be like, all right, he's on a stranded island. How can we get him talking? A thing in Flight, I'm just going to skip ahead to Flight for a moment, that I never realized is the whole movie is told from Denzel's perspective. Essentially, you get some setup of the woman.
Yeah.
But then there's the scene where they have to explain some of the legal stuff. I was watching a behind the scenes thing. The way they got away with explaining the legal stuff when they're at the baseball stadium. And they just have Denzel outside.
Oh, right.
So they're like, this is kind of his thing. So they can do all this setup for the movie. And they're like, it's kind of his perspective because he's sitting there watching them talk. And I was like, that's a clever way to get through something, which I'm so mindful of now.
That is a good point. And the volleyball thing is interesting on that level because it's like, yes, on one hand, it is a device that allows him to talk about his own thoughts, but also gets to like this really interesting existential thing you don't see in a lot of, especially big movies, about like just the need to have human interaction to this point where you just have to fake it. I mean, it's a weird thing, this movie. Like, it's for a Hollywood movie, it's pretty fucking weird. It's a man talking to a volleyball, and that's it's the best part of the movie. Is his relationship to the volleyball, Yeah,
it's pretty great. Now, personally,
the Helen Hunt shit doesn't work as well.
I am moved by the Helen Hunt shit. I mean, I like the setup in the beginning, but do you feel this way? I mean, you're a single guy, and I always hate people that said this when they were married. But I'm like, now that I'm married, being like you're just dating, you're not even engaged, seems like a joke to me. Like, what kind of love story is this? They're just dating?
It also felt like they're too old. I mean, maybe I just think of them as old now. Like, Tom Hanks, it was weird. That's totally right. It was weird to see, first of all, it was just weird to see Tom Hanks not married in a movie. And it was very weird to be like, you're in your 40s. What are you, fucking going steady? It just felt very immature.
Well, a couple things. One, she is, they established, again, cleverly, that she had been married before. So she's divorced, and he is married to the job. He's a clipper ship captain. He's married to the sea.
I know, but it's just weird to see Tom Hanks fucking like
I agree,
talking about going to third base and like maybe I'll propose to her. I just know him as such a family man that it's so weird to see them like they're like finger banging. Haven't they even had sex yet? It's just like a bizarre thing to see. They're old, right? I mean, they're in their 40s.
In their 40s. No, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I do feel like when someone's like, yeah, my girlfriend, I'm like, oh, you're not even like anything.
Well, you know what it is, honestly? I think that's a valid criticism. I think the movie, it's obviously in your 40s, you can date someone, but I feel like they should have set up more of the context for that. I get you said she was married before, but they should have set up a little more of what's, like Tom Hanks he just looks like a man who had been married already.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He's chubby. He has a divorce gut. You know what I mean? And they should have like maybe explained that he was married and this is a new relationship, but it just feels like, it feels like it needs more context.
So you're divorced?
God, I say the one forehead. I make fun of you once, and you're gonna be shooting darts at me all fucking night.
Helen Hunt is hot. Have you seen that movie, The Help or whatever, where she's just naked
No,
a
it's not
ton?
The Help. It's the one where she's fucking the cripple guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a lot of nudity.
The
It's
Help,
like
the
helper or the crazy, the crippled
jacking
dude.
off the cripple guy. Yeah, it's
The helper or I don't know, whatever.
Help me come. Yeah, no, she's hot. She's got nice tits, but her forehead is just like, was it not striking to you?
It didn't strike me.
Big of a forehead. It struck me. You weren't struck?
No strike.
I don't know. I always look. I used to jack off to her all the time. I say that like that's like a huge compliment to her. like I don't just jack off to anything. But I don't know. I just maybe like big foreheads like that were kind of in back then. But
here's the thing that I love. I want to talk about Zemeckis for a minute. I keep trying to figure out if he's like in recovery for drugs and alcohol recovery, but I can't get any interviews where he admits it. But every single film of his has like a sobriety, day at a time, higher power metaphor theme in it. Like Roger Rabbit, Bob Hoskins is an alcoholic, and then eventually he throws the bottle down and he shoots it with the
good point.
The thing. Forrest Gump, it's like Jenny has to go get sober. She makes amends, and it's a lot of like just take it one day at a time kind of thing. Back to the Future is all about fate. And even like the mother is like, Jesus, you smoke too? He's like, you shouldn't drink and smoke. You could do things you regret. Then there's I
don't really see Back to the Future. That's a stretch. But the others I definitely see.
Well, Back to the Future, though, it is all about like the future's whatever you make us. There is redemption in there. I mean, he decides to not get upset when someone calls. I see it because that's how I see things sometimes. But Flight is obvious. And then even Castaway, he doesn't get saved until he lets go of the oars. There's a spirituality to it.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I love. That's a detail I love, is that he lets go of the oars and he lets go and just goes, whatever happens, happens. And that's when he gets saved, which is one of the ideas of alcohol.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I saw that. I think you're right, but I saw that moment. I was like, is he basically committing suicide by throwing the oars away?
I mean, I think he is, but it is letting go. It's an amount of letting go of control, which is what he's always trying to do, is control. And he talks about it later. He's like, I couldn't even kill myself the way I wanted to. So he finally in that moment has completely let go of control. And then he gets saved the next morning.
I do think there's some of that in his movies. I mean, I think there's like, AA is interesting because like a lot of things you learn in AA is that a lot of the cliches are true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's like a part of it. You're like, oh, these cliches kind of seem stupid. And then you suffer and you realize, oh, there's actually a lot of truth to these cliches, So in Zemeckis, I think sometimes it really does come from AA, but then sometimes I think his movies just have really corny kind of sentimental ideas in them, especially Forrest Gump, in my opinion. But I think Castaway, like, I don't know. I like a lot of the shit on the island. I like the shit with the volleyball, but like, I don't know. I think like that monologue he gives to his friend at the end is just, to me, it's just like really bad writing, because you're inserting him speaking with someone he barely knows. It's like when you have
it's his best friend. Like, that's his best friend.
Yeah, but they're like barely in the movie. And like when you do a monologue like that, it means you haven't expressed the stuff in other ways in the script. It's like you haven't done it another way. And then the monologue is just so corny when he says this shit about the tide. And he like it's corn. Do you like that monologue?
It's tough because I guess I'm a cheese ball in some ways. I'm an emotional guy, and I haven't always been able to show affection. So I get it through film and music. So it is, it's touching in some ways, but I see what you mean. I definitely know what you mean. He's giving a lot there. They're showing they're showing a lot of stuff there, but
it's telling, not showing. You know what I mean? It's like but it's also like he has a metaphor that he brings back at the end. And in real life, obviously, the other guy would be like, "Wow, you really brought that metaphor back at the end there." You know what I mean? If I like threw a metaphor in like that, you'd be like annoyed at me. Like it's just like But
I do relate to the idea of being heartbroken and sitting, like, we all have been like heartbroken, and you're sitting there with your buddy being like, but here's what I got to do. I get it. I can see it now. So I do understand that. What kills me is not that speech. If you're going to put that speech in, it should have ended where I got to just keep moving. Credits. The problem is then it cuts to him driving, and he's like, I got a bottle of water now. I got my CDs again, and I have a map, and I'm just going to go where everything after that speech is really appalling to me.
It's really appalling. It's like it brings back this woman from the beginning that has nothing to do with anything.
No.
And then the fucking Zemeckis has this thing where it's like follow the coincidences and the clues, which is just so stupid. So it's like, ooh, the angel, the wings on the truck. This is all meant to be. It's like, it's literally you're watching. It's like a douchebag. The person's like, everything happened for a reason, man. It's literally that as an ending, and it's just like so. And also, once again, it's watching Tom Hanks in his 40s just following a girl. Like, it just feels weird to watch him. What, is he trying to get pussy from this fucking farmer or whatever? Like, it's just like a weird thing to see Tom Hanks in.
It's so bad. It's almost as bad as the speech in Psycho, where you just have to turn it off and be like, okay, that's the end of the movie. I've decided this is the end of the movie. Because the other thing that takes away from it that I hate, the wings is stupid. I hate that fate wings bullshit. It's just so dumb. But I also hate so much this sly like sex thing. It brings like sex into it.
I know, right?
She's like hot and she's like she's just a cartoon character, and then she drives away and he's like there's an implication of like, I'm gonna go see what's up with her, and I'm like, wait, so it's just him gonna like fuck a chick?
So what is that even gonna entail? He's gonna follow her into town and then be like, or is she driving back home?
I think she's going home.
Was she leaving her house or coming back? Oh, he's gonna follow her back and be like, hey, by the way, I had this package. It saved my life. I came back here. So now you have to fuck me.
And she's going to be like, oh, no. She's like, I have a boyfriend. He's a bull rider.
You have to fuck me because of the coincidence. Don't you understand? This is too much of a coincidence. You have to have sex with me. Like, it's just it's just like an insane, crazy weird. And like we talked about, either Tom Hanks is dating Meg Ryan or he's already married. I can't do this like him trying to hit on some random fucking girl in fucking Memphis. It makes me feel, it's like watching your dad try to pick up a woman. It's just uncomfortable.
It stinks. And also just like the idea, I get it, it's whimsical or whatever, but it's like, he didn't open that package. Like, he's on that island for 5 years.
That's insane. What if there was like food in it? What if there was like a fucking satellite?
Yeah.
What if there was like a fucking phone he could just call?
It's just like, I mean, that was like a hack bit in the early 2000s. But
wait, was that a joke? Really?
Oh, everyone had that joke.
Well,
yeah.
I started comedy a little later than you, but
no. But it is like, why would that part's just like, it's such a
that's
thing.
Insane.
It's actually stupid. It's actually stupid to not.
It's like, is this Forrest Gump? It's fucking retarded. Like he needs to like he's like starving. He's like, and why does he not open it? Just because there's wings on it?
I think because there's wings. They decide.
You fucking idiot.
Well, I think he wants to preserve. I have some job. I have some meaning, and it's some hope. It represents a hope.
But that's also the weird thing. Like at the end, he's like, "This is a crazy coincidence because this is the one package I didn't open," and she'd be like, "Yeah, you should have opened it. You've created this coincidence. You should have just opened it like you opened all the other packages. You're just creating this. It's like insane. I mean, Zemeckis has this weird, the same thing with Forrest Gump with the fucking feather, the wings. It's just like, it's this weird fucking sentimental, like mystical bullshit. That's just like bizarre. And just,
well, but you're saying Spielberg light. I mean, Spielberg has that times. I think Zemeckis has a better percentage than Spielberg. Better batting average.
I mean, I can't even hear these words. I mean, that's
okay. So Back to the Futures, I think, are all great. Used Cars is great. What Lies Beneath is pretty good.
What Lies Beneath is very good and underrated.
Okay, there you go. Let's call it great then. I mean, I haven't seen it in 10 years.
It's a very good, interesting movie, but I mean, you can go all day long. I mean, Jaws is better than all those movies.
Yes, but I'm talking batting average. But you're not a sports guy, so you don't understand. Like, I'm saying like 90% of Zemeckis' movies are like fantastic. And Spielberg has like Bridge of Spies is garbage.
But Spielberg's also made a lot more movies, hasn't he? I mean,
he has. That's why you do batting average.
Oh, well, fine. But I mean, like, Spielberg's still like Jaws, Schindler's List, Close Encounters. I don't know. I mean, those are like E.T. Those mean more to me than any like Zemeckis movie, I
understand. I mean, I'm just saying that.
But I get what you're saying. He has more. Okay. He has more. Okay, I still don't think that's true. I mean, Spielberg has a lot of other really good movies that aren't great.
Yeah, you're probably right. But there's a bunch of Spielbergs that are just dripping with cheese. I mean, dripping. Yes, I guess what I'm saying is, if you're saying earlier, you kind of dismissed Zemeckis as like bullshit Spielberg, and then you're criticizing Zemeckis for being like this whimsical cheese. And I'm like, Spielberg has some crazy cheese.
Well, that's
Crazy,
kind of
oozing cheese.
That's part of the Spielberg light. He has similar flaws as well. You know what I mean? He's similar to Spielberg in that sense. Yeah, I agree with that. I just think like, I guess I don't like. I just don't get like an ending like that where it's like saying coincidences and all that. I'm just like watching it go. This movie's the view in this movie is incorrect.
Sneeze.
Oh, what is that? Fuck.
I got to sneeze. Oh, it went away. If you say sneeze, you're going to sneeze. It goes away.
Yeah, I know. It's it's like also like coming. Before I had sex the first time, I read in a book that like I was afraid I'd come early. So I read in a book. It's actually Viktor Frankl's In Search of Meaning. Have you ever read that?
No, I think you told me about it before.
I think you would love that book, but it's a weird book. It's a book about the Holocaust. He's a psychologist. He went through the Holocaust. It's actually similar to Castaway, where he survives the Holocaust by thinking about his wife the whole time, thinking he'll be reunited with her. But then at the end, she's dead. But it's
that's the same as Castaway.
Yeah, well, except she's not dead. It's not the Holocaust. But other than that, it's very similar. But for some reason, at the end of the book, he talks about how not to prematurely ejaculate.
What? That's the same book?
Yeah, it's very weird. And
that's a deleted scene in Schindler's List too.
Yeah, it's a very weird thing. And he says to not come early, you should try to come, and then you won't come early.
I have the exact opposite problem, though. I don't want to get into this, but
you can't.
It takes me an hour and a half to come. As soon as I'm like, it's like the same with peeing. Anything kind of my brain to penis connection is bad.
Try not to come, and you'll come. You got to do the reverse. Try not to come and you'll come.
If I try not to come, I'll be thinking about my father.
The dick does well with reverse psychology.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna try. I got.
Let me know.
My niece and nephew are outside the door here, so I gotta move on.
But
we should switch to flights, because we're gonna run out of time.
Okay. Well, let me just say one last thing. Did it bother you in this movie that like I get that like people speak in cliches, but there's some filler dialogue in this movie that is so bland. Like the whole scene at Christmas. And like every basically piece of dialogue in this movie is just such filler. And I get that people speak in cliches, but like you want to see like in Sideways where like, like look what the cat tried. You want to see a cliche, but like it done in like a very specific way. It just had such broad fucking filler dialogue for a lot of the scenes. Did that bother you? No, I actually think it's good. I think that stuff up front is good. When he's in Red Square and then the Christmas scene, it actually feels pretty real to me. That seems fun. I meant the Christmas dinner with his family. I thought that actually came off okay. Nah, it just felt like way too much filler. And I thought this stuff with Helen Hunt at the end was good, except the scene in the rain. I just thought that was kind of corny. He should have just left the house. That was beautiful. Just leave the house. She's upset. It's all unspoken. Great. There's some compelling stuff there, but yeah, it lacks something. It's just. I can't always pinpoint, but you're just like, there's things I love about this movie, but it's a little cheesy. And the idea of like that false thing of like, let me get one thing straight. And she's like, oh my God. And he's like, we have a football team. Oh yeah. God. I thought that like, kind of, I wish there was more bad dialogue. I like when she's showing the most intriguing thing to me is the crash and him surviving. So like when she's showing him the map and she's like, this is where you were, this is where we looked for you, that stuff is compelling to me. And I'm also compelled by the thing of like, I never stopped loving, letting that out, that I never stopped believing. That stuff is beautiful to me. But that stuff's nice. But I guess there is like, the movie doesn't follow through somehow. I don't know. Yeah. It's about survival on the island. And then it kind of ends with this romance, and it's like this like thing, and like I don't know, it no longer is about survival. I don't know. It just doesn't really. The movie doesn't really follow through in its ideas. I thought it is a disappointing third act, but there's some great stuff in it. Tom Hanks is amazing, and there's obviously some great shit in it. And it's also an extraordinary accomplishment that they went to Fiji and they shot over a couple of years, and I really like. Oh, they did. Yeah. Well, they had to lose the weight. What'd you think? I thought they can lose weight quickly. These actors was like they took a full year off. They shot a bunch of stuff in Fiji, and then they took a year off and went back to Fiji. Oh wow! Well, what about like you got to respect the ambition of Zemeckis. He is really a guy who is trying to push things forward. I mean, it's tremendous. I mean, like Polar Express, Roger Rabbit, even Back to the Future. These are all like huge efforts, and sometimes I do think it gets lost in a huge budget, extravaganza. You do lose, and you have to end up having some cheese. Same with Spielberg.
because you're trying to make it a movie that tons of people will watch because you got to make your money back. So it has to be a little bit broad.
And he slips in a lot of interesting ideas within that framework that you wouldn't see in a normal. But that's also what's so amazing about Flight, because Flight is a Hollywood movie that's like insane. Like, I don't know, it deals with some really fucked up shit for like a Hollywood movie, you know?
Yeah.
That is just fascinating to watch. I saw Flight in theaters.
Me too.
I fucking loved it. It's ridiculous. Like, it's not like, in reality, a pilot would not be able to get away with any of that at any time.
Right.
But like, it's like, there's no way, but it's so ridiculous and so like funny and weird. Like, I kind of love the movie. It has such a, and so what do you call it? Like, shameful.
No, I absolutely love this movie. And I forget sometimes, like, this movie had an extremely profound effect on my life. This movie came out like 3 weeks before I got sober. I saw it just a couple of weeks before I got sober. Yeah. And I remember where I was sitting in the theater. We were like halfway up in the middle, and it was pretty full because it had just come out. And also, like, we thought it was an action kind of movie thing. Like, it is not anything what I thought it was going to be.
No, it's a very weird movie. It has Alexander Payne like drama wrapped into this like airplane crash movie, but it's a movie that like acts like it's about a pilot, but it's really all about alcoholism. I mean, it's not really about flying. The flying is essentially a metaphor in the movie. Like, absolutely. So it's such a fascinatingly weird movie to be like, oh, this is another plane crash movie where they're going to talk about, fucking, honor and courage. And no, it's about a degenerate drunk who's just running away from that reality his whole life. I mean, it's just like it's a dirty movie, which is so fun to watch, No,
it's essentially like a 2.5 hour AA share.
It is, yeah.
It's like you went to a meeting and you're like, hey, this guy talks for like 2.5 hours and tells this entire story. And it's so compelling, and it legitimately changed my life. Like, I was like, all right, it's time. This is how I see myself. So that I got sober right afterwards.
It made you kind of go into AA?
Yes, like shortly after that, because it's just such a beautiful movie, and there's so much compelling about it. And this is Denzel's best performance, I think.
So much. I mean, I love Denzel, but I do think, especially in later years, he always played that cool guy, like an inside, whatever the fuck, the inside man. He's always cool with the hat and like strutting around and Training Day, and it's superficial. And this movie is like all the darkness behind the cool. Like, you still see him walking down the hallway looking cool, but he also just did a bunch of coke to be ready for the flight. It's like, it's a vulnerable Denzel that you hadn't seen in years.
No, it's tremendous, like, detail of him being like belligerently drunk and subtly drunk, the way he's like falling asleep.
It's incredible.
And when he's sober, he's great.
And he's sober for about 2 minutes in the movie. There's like about a 10-minute sequence. But it's incredible because, and in a way, does this make sense? I feel like him playing these cool roles before it for a lot of years, like these cool action movies, kind of almost gave it more gravity, like, you know what I mean? Because he established himself as kind of like always a cool cop or whatever.
Right.
So then seeing this movie where he's so fallen apart is like the vulnerability. It hits you at a deeper level than if he had played a lot of other kind of fucked up characters before that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's vulnerable in a way you do not see from him. I mean, like, Jesus, it's vulnerable.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just great. And I hadn't watched it in a while, and I forget, like, it's easy for me to like forget how great it is and how much it pulls you in. I remember thinking there was a couple things I didn't love about it, and there still is. Like, the landlord guy is a little bit cheesy. Yeah, the co-pilot's wife is just horrendous.
Jesus.
Jesus, praise Jesus. It's just like, it's like a cartoon character. Even the co-pilot himself is a little bit silly.
He is silly, but I kind of like them making fun of that in that moment, because there's a couple times where I'm like, is this movie trying to convert me to Christianity? So it was like good to see them make fun of it. But yeah, he was a little cartoony. But first, like, the opening scene is just, by the way, I forgot about that fucking opening scene. Oh,
extended tits, yeah.
Oh,
tremendous.
My God, I had to stop and jack off. I tried to watch it again. Stop. It's crazy. But anyway,
I think you have problems.
But the crash sequence is so incredible and terrifying.
Amazing.
I like it brings it. It's so terrifying. In that moment, I totally forgot about. That's amazing. Is that moment right before they crash, where there's this weird moment of calm, and he sees the fucking church spire go by.
It's great.
But then that amazing moment of calm where he looks over at the co-pilot and they know they're going to crash and they might make it, but they're definitely going to probably go unconscious because it's a crash. It's just such an amazing little moment. It's like incredible cinema.
Well, and it's great. Yeah, it's great filmmaking to have that silence of like them just floating down. It almost feels like slow motion. He's looking like almost right into the camera. It's just great. I mean, Zemeckis is just such a fantastic director. And we talked about this with Sidney Lumet. Is like, it's all style. Style makes movies. And you notice Zemeckis almost always has the camera moving, which I love, the little details like that. It's always just slightly turning or pulling in or pulling out. It's just great. And another thing I hated about the movie, I forgot to throw out there. I forget what it was now. Shit. Oh, the drug dealer, the porn guy is just a little too coked up. The sniffs. Well, it's just like, oh, he's
the lingo's bad. I need to get faded. Well, there's a couple parts where Zemeckis, you feel like he's trying to be a little like Scorsese. He looked like took a Scorsese soundtrack, but Zemeckis is a square. You know what I mean? He can't be Scorsese. So some of those parts just do not seem. They seem like a square trying to make a gritty moment. You know?
Yeah.
But the crash sequence, by the way, I read apparently it was based on a flight. It was really funny. I mean, awful, but on Wikipedia that said it was that whole inverted thing where the plane goes upside down. The screenwriter based on an actual flight where the pilot was an Alaskan flight. He actually did go inverted to keep from going into a down. Just going straight down. What's it called? A tailspin.
Mm-hmm.
And then it said in the next paragraph, no one survived the crash.
Right. Nosedive.
So it was like, nosedive. Right. Sorry. So, I mean, and I think a lot of pilots got annoyed by this movie because it is.
Yeah, they hated it.
There is so much scrutiny with you can't just be drunk for 11 years and everyone knows it. And technically, if this was a real thing, Denzel Washington would be such an awful person to be constantly drunk while flying hundreds of people, you know what I mean? But here's the thing, it's a metaphor. It's really not about the flying is a metaphor for the alcoholism. And you just have to view it that way and realize none of the flying thing is realistic on any level.
Yeah. And it's made so well that I'm not even thinking about that. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, okay, great. It doesn't take me out of it because it's so well crafted and so well written, and it's so clear that what they're doing and going for. And the woman is fantastic too. And I didn't realize she's British. Did you know that?
All the great actresses are. No, I did not know that. Great American accent. Yeah, she's wonderful.
She's fantastic. But I love, and you have these sort of dual people in the same thing, which is another great thing about recovery and alcoholism and addiction. It's like we're all the same to some degree. And I love that they start telling those stories sort of parallel, and then they sort of come on screen for the first time as she's getting wheeled out of her house there on the stretcher. The plane just goes flying overhead, and it's like this is the first time they're on screen together, which is great. And then, of course, that scene in the stairwell is just so beautiful.
Amazing. The scene in the stairwell is amazing. And it's also I can't tell you how amazing it is to see this Hollywood. This is a big budget Hollywood movie, right? I mean,
it's actually a relatively low budget.
Was it? Well, that makes a little sense because I've never it's dirtbags in a Hollywood movie. I mean, in many ways. I mean, he's a degenerate pilot. And the movie also, unlike a lot of Hollywood movies deal with this false moral issue. It's always someone standing up for shit. It's kind of easier than it pretends to be. And but this movie has a really interesting moral dilemma, which is that he is a drunk and he is on coke, but that had nothing to do with the plane crash, which is fascinating. And if anything, the coke might have gave him the bravado.
Exactly. And there's another thing,
which is an amazing concept.
There's another great moral thing of all of a sudden you're slowing down a little bit. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is working. I'm also sunned out.
Fuck me.
No, we're good, I think. But there's also another great moral thing of the flight attendant that died, and he can just blame her, and you can almost imagine her being like, yeah, just blame me. I'm dead anyways. Fuck it. Who's it hurting? There's drugs and alcohol in her system. Just I drank it.
It's a perfect way to show someone having every opportunity to run away from his alcoholism, and it really shows you how easily you can justify it. You know what I mean? I saved the plane. I did that, but which is in a way, the movie is almost kind of talking about functioning alcoholism, in many ways. It's about an alcoholic who's I I get my work done, you know, but you still have a problem at the end of the day.
Of course.
And that's what was so fascinating. I think that moral issue, which, I mean, it's just the fact that he is a great pilot and he did save the day and no one else could have done that, but he's still an alcoholic. And that's something he's running from. It's just interesting to watch it play out in the movie, you know?
I really think it's like the best depiction of alcoholism and recovery in a movie, except I have a couple things that bother me. One, the AA scene, the laugh when the guy's like sharing at the AA meeting and he's like, that's like a thing that's like, oh, it's like such a big fake sounding laugh. Yeah. And the other thing is that I always have an issue with is the scene where he empties all the booze out of the house. I'm like, no, alcoholics don't have that much booze in their house because they drink it. I never had alcohol in my house because if there was alcohol, it would be gone. Like, why does he just have like 300 extra drinks? He just has gallons and gallons. Like, that would be gone.
Yeah, it's like me if I was trying to dump out all these cookies. There's never cookies. That's the problem.
Yeah, but
gone. You know what I mean?
It's still a fun scene, and I should start looking at some of my notes so I could have some of these things.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, visually it works because it perfectly shows that, like, you know, I'm going to start over again. You know what I mean? But like, I get what you're saying. But how great, and I remember this in theaters really fucking destroying me. How great is the grabbing the miniature bottle, like the whole in the hotel when he goes to the other room? I mean, that's a scene where that really tricked me. I really thought he was not going to grab the miniature bottle. I really thought, watching that he was going to overcome it in that moment.
Right.
And so when his hand come back to grab it, to me, that is like, it almost, you know what it does that's so beautiful? It really deludes you into thinking he's overcome it, you know, which gets you into the heart of the delusion of being an alcoholic, a drug addict. You think you can beat it on just your own, just yourself without admitting it. And you get caught in that lie in that moment. You're like, maybe he will beat it right here. And it's such an amazing twist.
That scene, sorry, I got a little bit of a cold, and it's starting to come up, but that scene is so relatable to me. And I feel like I've lived that scene when I did my half-hour special ed for Comedy Central. I remember being in the hotel, like anxious leading up to shooting the special. And then afterwards, and like not being thrilled with how it went and my family's reception of it, and being alone in the hotel, just bored with a huge mini bar. And that's that depiction of it, the way he shoots this is so great, of him like eating his meal, walking outside, laying there, trying to watch TV, laying awake, and just hearing this noise. It's so perfect. I'm like, I have lived this moment to be in a hotel with booze. And your thought is, I could drink this right now. Nobody would know. I could keep this a secret. Literally, nobody would know. I could get away with this. And it's just it's Zemeckis at his best. The way they shoot that, with the way the fridge is lit, his full fridge with no alcohol, the other fridge with alcohol in it, that lighting, it's overly lit. And
it feels like a dream. Perfect. It feels like a dream, like going into the basement in a dream. It's beautiful. And you see the sober himself eating the steak and it all feels really normal. And then you have this door into his unconscious with the fucking alcohol right there. And the look he gives at the fucking mini fridge, just knowing what's inside when he looks over at it, just knowing, like, it's an incredible fucking, that's like one of the best sequences in the movie. It's just like incredible. Yeah. And it's a real surprise. I really think when he grabs it, that visual moment fucking really tricks you, you know, in a way that you don't get surprises a lot like that in movies. A lot of times you kind of see it coming a lot of times. So it was like a legitimate fucking unpredictable moment. And
the great Easter egg there, the next scene is when they're in the elevator and it's with a little help from my friends is the elevator music.
Oh,
which is great.
Well, but isn't that what the Ebert criticism was?
No, well, that one's different. The Ebert criticism that I couldn't get out of my head is that like this music is so on the nose. That one's different because it's just like elevator music and it's funny. So it's like, and it's a small slight thing. The problem is like earlier he like does coke and walks out of the hotel in the opening scene. It's like feeling all right. Not feeling too good, master. Yeah. So like there's that. And I think Under the Bridge is playing, which I fucking hate that song, when she's like all heroined out. It's a little bit on the nose with the music, and I think it would have been better without that. But that's, you know, what can you do? But I do think this is the best depiction of trying to quit, and how great he is when he's like, no, I don't want to drink. And he goes and has that meeting in the hotel when you first meet Don Cheadle, which is such a great scene. And his like his antagonistic approach there. He's just so great in that moment. And then he immediately goes straight to the bar when he realizes he's fucked. And we've all had that feeling on a lower scale of like, I can remember just destroying this. My friend had a band space, and then I just broke into the place next door and broke everything. It was like a little furniture store. And I remember working at the record store the next day and seeing him in line and just knowing like, oh, I know what this is about. Him just being like, hey, what did you do? And you're like, I'm fucked. And then you just leave and go start drinking again.
And it's the difference between shame and guilt. Guilt is something where you're like, I did a bad thing, but I can change. Shame is like, I'm always going to be a shitty person, so I might as well just fucking drink. I'm just broken and no good, Yes. And that false perception that will like destroy you. And like seeing him, you really like, I haven't seen Leaving Las Vegas in a while. I assume it's probably pretty over the top now if I watched it.
Yeah, I never loved that movie.
It's probably a little like, it's too much of him like just chugging a bottle right away. Like, I don't know, like it's like that's a lot of whiskey right in 1 second, just even for an alcoholic. But though in this he does chug a vodka. What do you think? I mean, you were an alcoholic. Do you think like do you think he chugged that vodka a little too like he kind of like chugs the whole bottle?
It's a little aggressive, but I mean, some people drink like that. Some people don't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
depends.
I didn't really drink like that, but there was times where I did drink like that, and I ended up handcuffed to my cousin's weight bench in my underwear. And evidently, we like fought, and he's like, "You just wouldn't stop fighting me." And I was drinking rum out of the bottle like that. So I think you can get to a point like that.
It's seeing him lie to himself the whole time, and seeing him try to quit and failing over and over again is really what gets to the core of addiction, of how you lie to yourself. It's like, you get one bag of Coke and you're like, this is all we need. And then you call the drug dealer like 4 different times that night. Like you always lie to yourself, and you never like, you always end up like thinking you'll be okay. You'll be clean. And then you just fail over and over and over again,
Right.
This captures that. This captures the need for drinking, and it captures the lying to yourself, which is one of the best lines of the movie which a hilarious, amazing line when they're like, telling him how to lie. He's like, you don't need to tell me how to lie about drinking. I've been lying about drinking my whole life. I mean,
it's a little on the nose. No,
but it's funny.
It is. That's the one line where I'm like, it feels a little bit on the nose to me.
I mean, it is on the nose, but like, I feel like Denzel Washington says it in a funny way. I feel like the way he says it's pretty like, it's just, I don't know. I find this, John Goodman is not funny in it, which is upsetting because they try to present him as funny. But the movie still has a lot of funny qualities,
Yeah, he's pretty funny. I mean, he killed in the theater. I mean, it killed for non-comics. But there's also another level of the thing. First of all, the scene when he wakes up and gets briefed is so goddamn compelling. Yes. That is one of the great scenes ever.
Incredible. And I watched it. I'm sorry. Am I here?
Yeah. No, you said something, so I got
worried. That scene is amazing, and I watch it when he tells him that Katrina died.
Yes.
I watched this close up of his face. It's so subtle, but he gives like an eye blink to like register like the grief in that moment. It's like an amazing, such a small microscopic acting move that I watched a couple of times. That's just like incredible. Yeah, that whole sequence is amazing.
He's so good. And there's also another level of this movie, another layer of this movie about, I think, of like the time we're living with everything being recorded, where they put the little recorder when they're briefing him, and then there's the black box. He's like talking to the black box. Of course, that comes back around, and then he's on TV and the camera crews show up. I think there's another whole theme of this movie of like everything is recorded, everything is seen, whether it be by God or by the paparazzi or by cell phones. Everything is being recorded. You can't get away with anything. Whether it be a person or God or whatever. That seems to be a theme running throughout it, is something is recording your actions. You're going to be found out.
Yeah, there's going to have to be some accountability, your own accountability, which is what he does at the end. That part is, it's incredible because there's so many corny fucking scenes at the end of movies where someone, has to finally tell the truth at a trial, and they're so corny. And this moment works so well. And it's such a hard thing to do, but him just saying, God help me. And then just like admitting that he's an alcoholic in that moment is such an incredible moment. It's just it's a true moment,
Yeah, and one of the themes again of AA and sort of phrases in AA was the theme of this movie is let go and let God. You have to let go of control, and that's what the guy with the cancer is saying, and that's what they say in the meetings, of course, and that's what eventually he does. It's the same as Castaway when he lets go of the oars. It's like you have to let go, and whatever your perception of God is, whether it be fate or whatever, spiritualism, but you can't, the things you can't control, which is most things in life.
Which is why even though that woman's over the top, I like that they make fun of his version of the co-pilots, because like there are some religious ideas in the movie. I mean, there's obviously, but it's an AA type religion where it could mean different things. But obviously, when he sees the church spire, as that is a very spiritual moment before he crashes.
And they're smashing through it also.
And they're smashing through it. But it also makes fun of acting like everything's for a reason. You know what I mean? That
right.
Religious fanaticism. So I'm glad that they made fun of that in the movie. Yeah, no, I think this movie is like very underrated. And like,
absolutely.
And like one of the, like, and a very adult, that's the thing. Like Zemeckis is good, but like, this is such an adult movie. You know what I mean? And that's what I really like loved about it. It's about degenerates. It's about life falling apart. It's Alexander Payne shit. You know what I mean? Wrapped up in like a big plane crash story. And that's what I kind of love about the movie.
I think that's one of the reasons it's underrated is that it was sort of marketed as this big action. Denzel's an action star. And it's like, oh, here comes the action star in a movie about a huge plane crash. Imagine if this pilot crashed a plane and you think maybe it's going to be like a Sully type of thing because Sully had already happened at this point.
Right.
And so you kind of think it's going to be like, oh, this is like a Sully takeoff. I get it. And like we said, it's a really pretty slow movie about alcoholism and addiction
and about
recovery,
like,
ultimately.
And about real sloppy, uncomfortable human emotions. I mean, that scene where he's forcing his kid to hug him in the when he comes to the house is such a powerful, uncomfortable scene. And also another hilarious moment where he's forcing him to hug him and then he goes outside. He's like, my family needs space. like that's pretty fun. I mean, there are some like legitimately like really funny things in this movie.
Right. I mean, a great thing too is like the manipulation. They depict an alcoholic's manipulation so well. He's such a master manipulator in every relationship that he's in. It's really great. I mean, it's just tremendous.
I guess that's what I find so fascinating about the movie is that, the whole bullshit thing and like Save the Cat, that whole formula in script writing where you got to make the main character like likable or virtuous or something to make it in a Hollywood movie. He's not really virtuous at all in this movie, and yet he's still captivating. Maybe it's because it's Denzel, but like, I mean, the whole movie, he's basically just manipulating and lying. There's nothing like heroic in the movie at all, which is fascinating to watch in a bigger budget movie with Denzel Washington,
Right.
Like I found that kind of fascinating. Like he kind of pulled off a really, I mean, he has a disease. So I guess that's the thing, but like he pulled off a guy who's pretty much acting selfishly the whole time,
Yeah. And he is likable. I mean, I guess he saves the people and he's cool. There's something cool and fun about him.
Well, it's actually maybe that whole thing. David Chase talked. I mean, whatever, Sopranos, but he talks about how like in TV, you can make a character shitty all you want as long as he's good at his job. So like, you'll like forgive anyone who's really good at their job. So like Denzel is great at his job, which I guess that kind of becomes a redeeming quality, But him being great at his job is also just a way to have him continue to be in denial,
Right.
And and that's what I love about this movie. You really get into his skin and his denial becomes your denial. He really allows you to experience his subjective world. You're kind of lying with him. You really think you won't take the miniature fucking drink. You really think that you become him.
And like we talk about in movies a lot, you're rooting for him, even though he's manipulating and lying. You're hoping you're like Psycho. You're hoping the car goes under the water. You're like, I hope he gets away with this. And he's so close to it. And then he actually does get away with it. And only then does he go, it's too much for him. And he finally lets go and comes clean. But he did it. He did everything he had to do. He was getting away with it.
He was getting away with all of it. I mean, which is also crazy. They were going to let him be a pilot still, which is insane.
By the way, there's the Castaway and Flight have similar moments where a character is on screen twice with a TV screen of him. Like when he's being deposed, you can see we're at his back, and then there's the monitor with him talking. So you see his back in front at the same time.
Oh, interesting.
Same with Hanks. When he's the welcome home party, he walks into that empty room and the TV of him on the news is on.
Interesting. Similarly. Yeah. I mean, they're very similar movie. Like they are like kind of a pair of his movies. Like, they both involve a person who's very alone throughout the whole movie. Like who's real. Like, I mean, Tom Hanks has a volleyball and Denzel Washington just has his like alcohol basically. I mean, the relationship with the woman is pretty much completely like she just disappears basically. So he's very alone. It's about people being very alone, and like coming to terms with themselves by the end,
Absolutely.
And the ending too is like, I don't like those hopeful, corny endings, but I find the ending really touching. I mean, the AA speech is, but I find that the scene of his son coming to talk to him, and that essay when he says the most fascinating person I never met, and that's such a powerful line, because you're like, oh, we've seen him drunk this whole movie. We've kind of never really fully met the real him, and that's the tragedy of alcohol. It's like it hides the real person,
Of course.
And at the end of the movie, you're like, oh, now we're going to learn. The movie ends where you're going to finally learn about him. That's what's so great. Like, it ends with you finally learning about the character. It's a beautiful movie.
Well, and then I relate to that too with my drinking. It's like, and I talk about this all the time when I talk about this kind of stuff, is that when I was drinking, there was always nights and mornings where I'd be like, I know I'm better than this. Yes. I know I'm a better person than this. I am a good person, but I'm like smashing and breaking and stealing and lying.
Yes.
And you're like, I just have to, it's the alcohol, it's that disease. I just want to add, there's another horrible line that I fucking hate.
Okay. But I like the line. I love that one. But what's the other line you hate?
The line is, I object. This isn't a trial. Well, I object anyways.
Oh yeah.
It's just overtly going for a joke. It doesn't make sense. It's so stupid. And we got the humor we needed. We got the humor we needed with them trying to pay. And Don Cheadle's like, you give him the money. That's funny. We have comedy in there. We don't need it at this moment. It's ridiculous.
It's also corny. Like it's like Frank Langella at the end of the fucking Sorkin movie. It's like, it's always annoying when someone's trying to suppress the truth. Mm-hmm. It's just like, so like, no,
yes,
it's
exactly.
just like a corny fucking thing. But I mean, the movie the plot itself is like, so ridiculous. They're just like, the union's just helping him be coked up so he can lie about it. That's the funny thing about this movie. Everyone's a fucking dirtbag in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, they're like Don Cheadle, the other, they're just trying to, like, it's like a completely dirtbag movie.
Yeah, everyone's trying to avoid accountability.
Which is kind of like so much about AA too, like accepting, like realizing you're a dirtbag.
Yeah, exactly. And an inventory, a fearless inventory of yourself.
Which is, and that's the thing that alcohol really tricks you. Alcohol always makes you think you're being more open, being your real self, but it's actually making you hide your real self.
Right.
But you think it's allowing you to open and say how you really feel deep down. But of course, that's not the case, because you're manipulating your body with a substance.
And you're the worst version of yourself.
You're always the worst version of yourself. Yeah. And so it allows you. The movie so perfectly captures like denial and lying. Yeah, it's a great movie. I fucking it is by far my favorite Zemeckis movie.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's just such a compelling movie, and it means so much to me. And like I said, it's played such a huge role in my life. So kudos, Bob Zemeckis and Denzel. And we got to wrap it up. The sun is starting to set here. I got to go rock and roll. I got Halloween stuff.
All right, yeah. Let's do some plugs and shit.
Let's plug some shit. You go.
Okay. I'm gonna be at Go Bananas. Oh no, I'm gonna be at Louisville, Kentucky. I'm gonna be at the Planet of the Tapes November 10th, and then I'm gonna be where the fuck is my phone? And then I'm gonna be at Go Bananas in Cincinnati, November 11th through 14th. So come out to that. That's gonna be a really fun. And then Funny Bone in Albany, November 19th through 20th. And then Velveeta Room in Austin, November 10th through 11th. And the Riot in Texas, November 17th and 18th. And of course, if you're in New York, please go now to my Instagram page at Raanan Comedy and reserve tickets to my Comedy Central special taping, which is on December 21st at 8 and 10 p.m.
Comedy Central?
Comedy Cellar.
Oh.
What did I say? Comedy Central?
You said Comedy Central taping.
No, yeah.
All right, yeah. And I got the same goddamn dates every week. November, big month, Zanies in Chicago, November 18th to the 20th, and Portland Helium, November 11th to the 13th, and Providence Comedy Connection, November 25th and 26th, I think it is, or 26th and 27th, I guess. And then December 21st, 10 p.m. December 7th, 10 p.m. is my special taping. And
go to both of ours.
Yeah, come to both. subscribe to the YouTube, and as always, leave some comments, get the debate going, get some likes, get that algorithm, and we'll be recording in person soon at the house. Next time I see you, you'll be in my home.
Yeah, I think I'm excited, man. Yeah. So yeah, this has been great.
All right, awesome. Happy Halloween. Well, it's November now, whatever.
Cut.
All right, enjoy. Be safe.
Peace.